Alright, so I tried to make a little utility AI here. I'm importing array from numby, sleep from time, and distance from math. So to begin with, I have a few variables up here. In real life, can I make it to cover, guns not loaded, is not in cover, then fight gun, gun mag, play position, enemy position, and cover position. And then a turn tracker to just see how many steps the utility AI is doing. So here I have a few functions. I have my move to enemy function, I have my fight enemy function, move to cover, load gun, and these are the 4 actions that it is possible to do for the AI. So move to enemy, looks at the player position compared to enemy position, moves the player. And it does that for both X and Y, and that's part of the arrays up here. And then it also prints moving to enemy, because that's the action it's doing. So it may look, for a person that is good at Python, this may look a bit weird, because I had some issues with my variables becoming local when I wanted them all to be global. And so I ended up with some of them being called global, doing some weird things in some parts of the code. But in the end, it was working very nicely. So we have move to enemy, as I mentioned. Then we have fight enemy, which has gun mag and fight gun. So fight gun is a variable I'm using just to check how many times it has fired at the enemy. And I also use that to just end the utility AI loop when it has killed the enemy. And then gun mag is how many bullets is in the gun's magazine. If it reaches 0, it gotta be loaded before it can fire again. Then we have move to cover, the same as move to enemy, just this is the cover position instead of enemy. And also printing move to cover. Load gun, global gun mag is now 8, so that's the amount of bullets in the magazine for each time we load the gun. Then I have some distance to enemy, distance to cover. I use these to apply a certain value for the AI to know which action to take. Then we have my main function here, which is the desired action function. It's given in real life, can I make it to cover, is not cover. Again, yeah, I have issues understanding how variables work in Python, because it was just seemingly randomly making my variables local instead of global. But in the end I made it work, and I'll just leave it at that. So we have some more variables here: distance to enemy, distance to cover, fight enemy, move to cover, move to enemy, load gun. So these 4 here is the action values. These 2 here is the distance to the enemy and the cover. And then we are saying here, so if the player position is not equal to cover position, or the player position 1 is not equal to cover position 1, then we are not in cover, else we are in cover. Then we are checking, is gun mag below or equal 0? For this, gun is not loaded is true, else it's false. And then we are just doing the distance to the enemy, distance to the cover. So if distance to cover is above or equals 50, then can make it to cover is true, because we are so far away from the cover. Move to enemy. So this is part of one of the priorities, and it's just equal distance to enemy minus 40. It was just to give it a value based on the distance to the enemy. Then we have if move to enemy is below 0, move to enemy equals 0. It was just because if this minus 40 makes it go below 0, I don't want it to be below 0, I just want it to be 0. So if distance to enemy is below or equal to 50, fight enemy gets 75 points. If distance to cover is below 50 and we are not in cover, move to cover gets 50 points. If gun is not loaded, move to enemy gets negative 100 points, fight enemy gets negative 125 points, because both these choices will be very dumb if you don't have a load gun, and then load gun also gets 75 points because we want to get that gun loaded. So if you can't make it to cover, fight enemy gets 50 points. if you're not in cover, moving to cover gets 50 points because getting to cover is very good. So if gun is not loaded, load gun gets a negative 125 points, because if the gun is already loaded, why would we try and reload it? If not, it's not in cover, then load gun gets 50 points and fight enemy gets 50 points, because you're in cover, you're safe. You can reload and you can fire. And then we have some if statements here. They are basically the same thing 4 times over. Move to enemy, above fired enemy, and move to enemies above move to cover, and move to enemies above load gun, move to enemy. That's the simple thing, the priorities. You just check the various priorities and say, okay, this is a big one, do that. And then we have some prints here, just doing, I'm moving to cover, this is my value, well, rather this is the overview, so moving to cover, and then we have the move to cover value, move to enemy value, fired enemy value, load gun value. So that's the main function here, making the AI choose which one it wants. And down here we have the actual while loop, so while enemy is alive, and that's where fight gun comes in. Turn plus equal 1, so we are starting at turn 1, print the turn, decide the action, then this gets printed out, and it also has the action up here that gets printed out. I should make those else if, but anyways. If fight gun is above equal 25, enemy alive equal false, because now we have shot at the enemy 25 times, he's dead. And then it's printed done at the end because